Welcome to the Hockey Writers Chicks and Sticks, a weekly show hosted by some of our best female hockey writers, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, game results, and much more. From talking hockey with NHL personalities to tackling the latest big issues, our team covers everything hockey and more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some Chicks and Sticks.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 22 of Chicks and Sticks, brought to you by the Hockey Writers. My name is Melissa Boyd, and I'm once again joined by my partners in crime, Hannah Garfield, and the newly married Mariah Holland, now Mariah Stark. So before we go any further, we have to ask you how the big day was.
Oh, it was fantastic. And since you asked, I have it. And I'm going to show it off even more. My signed Kaprizov jersey that I refused to take out of the bag till I get it framed was a wedding gift from my now husband. So it was fabulous in my way.
Yay. Well, obviously you picked the perfect guy, because I mean, he knows you so well. So and I'm sure you've noticed, but we're actually shorthanded this week. Chrissy is actually covering the Devils game tonight at Prudential Center. She's a new credentialed writer for the Hockey Writers, so that's awesome. So they'll be bringing us all the scoop and the latest from the Devils next week when she's back. So between the three of us, we'll get through this, and we'll start with training camp for our respective teams that we cover for THW. So Hannah, we'll start with the Boston Bruins. How is this preseason been going for them and training camp? I guess we're getting close to the final cuts.
Yeah, there's really been no real surprises with the Bruins' training camp, as there really hasn't been many surprises with them in recent years. The big story right now is whether Jack Studnicka is going to make the final roster. He's kind of been their most highly touted prospect in recent years and has been having a pretty good training camp in preseason. And, really given the Bruins' lack of center depth, I think his development is really something that Bruins fans are eagerly awaiting and eagerly watching. I don't know if I'm convinced he's going to make the roster. I think he needs a look at some point this season, but we'll see if he makes it right out of training camp. I think Eric Haula has actually been really surprisingly great on centering the third line with Jake DeBrusk. So that was kind of where I think people expect him to slot in. And now it's kind of looking like he's not going to, that spot is kind of solidified, but he's been great. And it's been really exciting to see a young player coming back into the Bruins lineup, because they've gotten really old in recent years, as we all know.
Yeah, it's always the best part of training camp for me, is seeing those young guys really push. Of course.
There was another young player, I'm not going to be able to say his name, Leko Walko. Another Czech player.
That is a good name. Okay.
Yeah, it's another Czech player. The Bruins love their Czech players. He was another guy that was kind of a dark horse to potentially make a roster spot, but he was sent back down to Providence yesterday. But it'll be interesting if there are injuries to see if he gets brought up at some point this season. So there's still much to be excited for, even as Bergeron and Marchand get 1 year older, even though they don't play like it, but they are getting older. But we do have some exciting young guys, I think. So
that's all that matters, because that's the key there. Got to have those guys come in to replace the veterans.
Of course.
So I know, Mariah, you've been otherwise occupied these days. It's completely understandable. But I know, if I know you at all, I know you've been keeping a very close eye on the Minnesota Wild. So what's been going on over there?
Well, I can tell you, I rewrote my vows so I could actually physically read them while watching the Wild's preseason game. So, yeah.
I knew.
True fan right there.
Obviously, I mean, Kaprizov was the main story because he signed right beforehand. They got him in, I think, the third game they played, and he scored, of course. So he's been doing what everyone expects of him, and I'm happy about that. Otherwise, it's the same, like Hannah said, the battle of the young guys, and the Wild have a good battle, is what everyone's been saying, because they have Boldy, Rossi, and then the surprise that I never even heard his name, I'll be honest, before this season, was Adam Beckman. He's had like 4 goals and I think 3 preseason games. I might be wrong on that stat, but he's been on fire. He got in a fight last night, and he just, yeah, I think he's going to make it really difficult for them to choose one player, because they claimed Pitlick off of waivers from Nashville too. And they said he's not going anywhere. So that makes it down to 1 roster spot. So potentially, unless, something happens. But I mean, it could be a 3-way fight or 4-way with, I'm going to say his last name wrong too, Duhaime.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. Yeah.
I don't know how I've heard them say it, but I don't. He's another one. Their young guys are really stepping up and want to prove it. So it's going to be interesting to see who gets that last spot.
Yeah, for sure. Like as I said, we'll wait to hear from Christy next week about the Devils. I know she'll have lots to report on. Over here in Montreal, well, I'm sure you all heard the news today that came out this morning regarding Carey Price, who has entered the NHLPA assistance program. Obviously, shocking news, to put it mildly. We all know that he's been recovering from off-season knee surgery, and then this kind of came out of nowhere. It's been, I'll have to say, a pretty tough day here. As you know, Carey is larger than life here in Montreal. So it's kind of surreal. I know all day I was kind of like, couldn't really believe it. But of course, the most important thing is that he takes care of himself and does what's right for him and for his family. And we saw the outpouring of support, so that's great to see. But it just feels like there's always a lot going on in Habsland, but it just feels like it's just like one piece of adversity after another. It was also announced today that General Manager Marc Bergevin will not be signing an extension until the end of the season, which is another, obviously secondary today, but still very significant. It's not usual that Montreal GM goes into a contract year with uncertainty, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes. With regards to actual hockey, there hasn't been hockey played in Montreal as well. It's young guys trying to get those last roster spots. The attention has been on Ryan Poehling a lot during this offseason because a lot was expected of him after a great season in the American Hockey League last year. He's had a okay camp, but not great. So he has one preseason game left to hopefully get a roster spot and get in on the 4th line. And same goes on defense. Caden Gooley, the Habs 2020 first round pick, is still at camp. And it is looking like he might start as at least as the team's 7th defenseman until our injuries return. But it's been a tough training camp, unfortunately, not as positive as Boston and Minnesota. A lot of injuries and of course today's news. But so hopefully things will turn around soon.
And wishing all the best to Carey Price.
Yes, well, yes, for sure. It's been really heartening to see all the support. And I know that having someone like him go seek that kind of help and is only going to do wonders for so many people. So it took a lot of courage, I'm sure, to do what he did. So it's great that he's getting the help he needs. So moving on, and actually before we do, I'm just going to remind everybody, because I kind of forgot off the top of the show, just to remind you that if you want to make sure you're subscribed to all of our social media channels and the YouTube channel that you're probably watching us on, We're also available on your favorite podcast platform. And if you like what you're watching, please send us a like, a comment. We love hearing from you guys. And if you have any questions you want us to answer in a future episode, please let us know. So our second topic is, well, feels like it's a topic a lot on our show, but the Jack Eichel situation continues to have twists and turns in it. So it looks like things might be moving in a more positive direction for both the Buffalo Sabres and Jack Eichel. It seems like there's been a sort of a breakthrough here, and we might be getting a resolution soon. But do you think that, I want to know from you guys, if this doesn't get resolved the way it's going now, do you think that the league and the NHLPA need to get more involved in this situation to sort of expedite a resolution? Mariah, what do you think?
Yes, as much as I'm not a huge Eichel fan, so I'll be honest, I'm getting like, it's just kind of tuning in the back, but I do feel for him. I mean, they've got to figure this out. It's dragged on long enough. Just step in, fix it, get it over with, so they can, both the Sabres and Eichel can move on, because this is just getting out of hand and ridiculous. Like, let him get his surgery, let him fix whatever's going on and be done.
Hannah, do you feel the same way?
Yes, this situation makes me so angry. Like, and it's, I don't blame Eichel for this situation. I think the blame is 100% on the Buffalo Sabres, and an embarrassing franchise is being even more embarrassing. Like, no offense to the Sabres Scoops guys, like, love them, but this is an embarrassment, and this is appalling that the Buffalo Sabres are treating a human being like this. Like, I'm sorry, if he wants to get the surgery he wants, just let him get it. Like, he has doctors that are saying, get this surgery. And as you've seen with the Robin Lehner comments, we probably shouldn't trust every single, doctor. This is why you go to get multiple opinions when you're going to have a major surgery. And if that's the opinion he wants to go with, like, just let him get the surgery. And if he wants to be traded, trade him already. Like, this is, they're potentially ruining, like, Jack Eichel is a good player. Like, you can say what you want about his attitude, about his personality. He is objectively a good NHL player. And we are going to lose a full season of him because of the embarrassment of this situation. And I think the NHL and the NHLPA should have stepped in months ago to deal with this. Like, why is this still going on? It is October. Like, we've been hearing about this since May, at least. Someone should have stepped in months ago, and the blame only lies with Buffalo Sabres and their management.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with you. And I think you also have to think about, like, the human in this. Like, he's living in pain. He's, his injury is still there. So, not only can he not play the game he loves, he's living every day in pain. And it's not like he hurt himself jet skiing or something. He injured himself playing hockey and doing his job. So it's actually surprising to me that the NHL and the NHLPA haven't gotten more involved in this situation to protect him more. But it seemed, like I said off the top, I think it looks like we might be turning the corner here.
Finally.
So hopefully for everyone involved, it gets resolved shortly. But we'll probably be talking about it. We'll obviously be talking about it again once he does get traded and there is a resolution, so we can share our thoughts on that. But let's hope it's pretty soon.
Yeah. We've known since June that that he needs to be traded. Like, why has he not been traded yet? Like, Buffalo needs to get over it and just fucking trade him.
Yeah. See, I'll leave her with the list. I'm not saying anything else. So actually, Hannah mentioned Robin Lehner as well in her. So that was going to be our next topic. Of course, he made waves. The goalie for the Vegas Golden Knights. with comments about specifically the Philadelphia Flyers organization and Alain Vigneault and the medical staff's sort of tendency to sort of hand out medication, at will or without really letting the player know what exactly they were taking. So a lot of very serious accusations that he put out for the world to consume. And of course, it generated a lot of reaction. Alain Vigneault has since responded to his comments, of course, denying the allegations. So what, and it's interesting too, I actually thought of Lehner today in light of the Carey Price news. It's kind of ironic in a way that these two events happen sort of several days apart. But I wanted to get your thoughts on his comments and his choice, I guess, to go about this on Twitter. Hannah, what did you think?
I wasn't surprised by any of the allegations. I think nothing that any sports league, not just the NHL, but every sports league, I think at every turn every junction, there's been some news story about, you think they're going to do right by their athletes, and they very rarely actually do. So nothing about the story really surprised me, or the fact that there are, some unsafe practices going on. Was Twitter the best place to do it? Debatable. I think you go either way, because obviously if it wasn't made public, there is a very likely chance that it would have just been buried. Again, as we've seen done before. So I see why he wanted to do it in public. I think Twitter in general, it's Twitter, and it's kind of a cesspool. But I don't fault him. I wish there was a better way, but at the end of the day, I don't know if there is, because again, I think any official channel he could have gone through, it would have just been buried.
Mm-hmm. Mariah, what did you think when you saw the comments?
I wasn't hugely surprised. I mean, we've known stuff like that. I mean, look at Bugard's situation. Look at those guys. We know stuff's going on. It's just there's nothing any of us obviously can really do. And it comes down to the NHL taking care of it and what's going on really behind closed doors. As far, I agree with Hannah. I don't know if Twitter is necessarily the way, but at the same time, he even said he'd tried talking to them about the situations and they didn't resolve them or anything like that. The one thing I wish he wouldn't have done is, regardless if they actually deserve it or not, I wouldn't have named people personally or teams. I would have let the NHL decide on how to do that. If they come out with a story later naming teams they're investigating, that's different. But as far as putting a coach out there, that's kind of, I mean, yeah, it's his choice, but at the same time, I don't know if that's the right way to do that. But I was reading one of the articles he said, and one of the big things he advocated behind closed doors was for their mental health professionals on every team. I guess Vegas has one. And I was, as someone who's struggled with that, I think that is a great idea. And I think the NHL should really get behind that and have somebody on each team. And I think that's something that hopefully will come out of this as a good thing. And maybe they can resolve other issues too. Like I said, I wasn't surprised, but yeah.
I have no expectations for the NHL to do anything for its players until it acknowledges CTE in the Lincoln Concussion. Until they do that, there is nothing the NHL could do that would make me believe that it actually does have its players' interests at heart.
Agreed. And continuous dangerous hits to the head, and that are, we've talked at length about player safety on the show as well. But I agree with both of you. I think it sounds like he did meet with the NHL, and he was encouraged by the meeting. So we'll see how long that lasts. and what, if any, sort of concrete action comes from it. But yeah, I just hope that he has the, the support, whether it's a lawyer or something else, the proper support to go through with this. Because actually, when I saw the comments, my first reaction was, knowing his history with his mental health struggles, my first thought was, is he okay? And it's great. I'm glad to see that it looks like he is okay, and that this was just a way to get the conversation started. So that's a relief. But yeah, hopefully something does come from this. But I applaud him for saying things that not many, if any, players in the league would say publicly. So
I really hope that he paves the way for more NHL players to speak out, because I think if anything, this last year has shown us that there are a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and that if people aren't speaking out, then they will get buried. And yeah.
And I think I saw someone talking about it today. I think it's, relevant, especially today. I think we don't realize how tough the pandemic and the last, 18 months has been on the players as well. I think we take it for granted, especially what they had to do, in the bubble and all that. Like, I think it impacted them a lot, and we're seeing it now come out. So all the best to Robin, and hopefully he, like you said, that was well said. I agree. I hope he can become a great spokesperson for the players on these issues. So another big news this week was actually, as you can see, big news week in the NHL, and the regular season hasn't even started, but big news out of Vancouver. And I know that our producer Matt is really happy, I'm sure. The Canucks remaining restricted free agents Quinn, Hughes, and Elias Pettersson re-signed. So they are, I think they are playing the next Vancouver game. So they are back with the team after holding out to start the preseason. So that's great news. When Hughes signed a 6-year deal and Elias Pettersson signed a 3-year deal. So what did you think of those deals? And do you think they could have got done maybe sooner? It feels like Mr. Benning left this a bit to I feel like he could have taken care of this, but anyways, that's for another story. But Mariah, what do you think of the 2 contracts?
I'm going to leave this short because I'm sure simple math over there is going to have a lot to say. Because I had heard they'd signed. I hadn't really seen the figures, and I was looking at it and I'm like, whew, those are a little high. But at the same time, they're very capable players that I think deserve a higher amount. I don't know if this is necessarily the amount I was thinking, but I mean, they're young. They've got a lot of potential. And that's pretty much all I'm going to say on that. I'm going to let Hannah go with it.
Hannah, go for it.
Yeah, I gotta live up to my. I feel like I have a reputation now. I feel like I'm not going to keep living up to it. No, I think the contracts are fair to. I mean, they're high, but I think both players have shown that they deserve higher cap hits. The most interesting part about this to me is the fact that Elias Pettersson is only 3 years, because 3 years to me always signifies a bridge deal, and a bridge deal thinks I can do more and I can do better, and it's like a show me type contract. And I just want to say that if Elias Pettersson has more in him, we are in store for something crazy, because he's already so good. And if he or Vancouver thinks that this is still only like half of what you can give, then I think, if you're not a fan of the Canucks, you're scared. If you're ambivalent to the Canucks like I am, then you're like, that would be a fun player to keep an eye on, keep watching. But yeah, that's all I really have to say on that. And I say, I definitely think that the GM could have gotten this done sooner, because I feel like this is probably around what they were asking for from the get-go, but like there really wasn't I think originally I was seeing 8 million and they just went down to 7 million and some change. And I'm like, you probably could have gotten this done beforehand, but it's done now. And I think both contracts are fair. And if Elias Pettersson has more to give, then we are in store for some fun next few years.
Yeah, completely agreed. And I'm sure somewhere Pettersson is kind of hoping after 3 years that the salary cap is not so rigid. And so that will give him more flexibility on his next deal. Well, okay, so we have Pettersson and Hughes signed, but there's still one very prominent RFA that remains unsigned, and that is Brady Ketchum of the Ottawa Senators. And well, that one is a bit more of a tug of war, it seems. There's different theories out there about what's going on, but it definitely sounds like it's a family affair where the entire Ketchum family is involved in this negotiation. So Matthew, his brother Matthew, and his dad Keith, and it sounds like we know how the Senators like to operate. They owner Eugene Melnyk is careful about the money he spends, and so my guess is they probably want him locked up to an 8-year deal, similar to what they gave to defenseman Thomas Chabot. But it sounds like possibly that Brady Ketchum wants to go the Pettersson route and get a 2 or 3 year bridge deal. So anyways, lots of moving parts in that negotiation. Do you think, Hannah, that do you think that Hughes and Pettersson getting signed and them being able to use those contracts as sort of maybe leverage or something in these negotiations?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I think this is very much just a Tkachuk versus Senators thing. And I mean, obviously now he's losing because the three of them were, skating together. So now he's losing his friend. So maybe in that instance it has an impact. But I don't think the deals they sign will really have that big of an effect on what Tkachuk ends up signing. Because I think, like you said, it's a big family ordeal. I think we saw this with Matthew a couple years ago. Like he held out pretty far into training camp. Maybe I don't think it was quite this far. I feel like he was still done. He was done before October. But I think they're definitely comfortable waiting. And part of me is like, Senators, just give them the 3-4 year deal and be done with it. Like you don't want an 8-year deal. 8-year deals are dumb. I have so much against 8-year deals if they're not for like top tier players. And Brady Ketchum's a very good player. He's not an 8-year deal player. So just get it, like Senators, just get it done.
Yes, but Eugene Melnyk is all I will say to that.
Yeah, what a dude.
What a dude. Yeah, well said. Mariah, what do you think? Do you think we're gonna get to a solution here soon?
They have to. He's gonna play. They have to figure out something. I'm just so sick of contract negotiations after all the Wild went through this year. So I'm just ready for everyone to be signed and done and let's move on with everything. So, I mean, pressure's all on them. So they got to figure something out soon.
Yeah, and the Sens just lost Colin White today for 4 to 6 months with shoulder surgery. So they're already down a man. So
they're also aren't they barely hitting the floor as it is? Like they have the money.
Yes, they're
don't do long term. Do a 4-year, give him $8 million, and if it's not what you thought it would be, then it's done in 4 years.
There you go, Ottawa. Hire Hannah.
Hannah, call. Yeah, we need you in there as a mediator or something. You got this on because we all hope for Sens fans that this gets done because, as you said, Brady Ketchum is the heart and soul of that team. So we need to get him on the ice sooner rather than later. Well, that wraps up the show for this week. That feels like it went by pretty quickly. I think we held in there pretty good without Christy, but we're excited. We can't wait to have her back next week.
I miss Christy.
Yes, we haven't seen her for a few weeks since we took the week off, so it'll be a while. But I promise you she's going to have some great stories. So can't wait to hear those. Thank you to all of you for listening and watching. We really appreciate the support. We're actually considering this to be our first episode of season 2 of Chicks and Sticks to celebrate the 2021-22 season starting. And well, when we see you next week, we're going to have regular season hockey to talk about, which is really exciting. Hockey is officially back. It's been great to have it back. But while you're waiting for our next episode, please be sure to check out thehockeywriters.com to check out all the awesome content being published daily. Follow us on social media, as I mentioned earlier. Please sign up for our Morning Skate newsletter at morningskate.io. You will not regret it, I promise. It's all the best hockey news, all the latest hockey news, really great stories delivered to your inbox 3 times a week. And we actually, Hockey Writers is now on, if you're part of the cool kids, we're now on Discord. So please join our Hockey Lounge. We got lots of great discussions happening on there every night with all of us, all of the writers at the site. So if you're a fan of, if you're a NHL hockey fan, we got a conversation for you, and we want to hear from you, and we want to discuss with all of you, and even closer to than we already are. That's all we got. That's a lot of stuff that we're doing. Thanks again for watching. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.